Hello BookTube, it's Ben here from the UK Historian channel. Today I thought I'd do a video on, it seems like everyone's doing videos of their bookshelves and showing everybody their little libraries. I only have a small library, but I thought I'd give it a go and do bookshelf number one. It's the books from, there we go, the top of there. And actually that's probably one of my favourite shelves, and I can reveal the reason why during the video. So to start off with, I've got The Great Boer War by Byron Falwell, and it's a pretty decent sized book. And this one is, I'm only halfway through this one. I've been sent this book by Pen and Sword Books. But I'm halfway through, and so far it's an excellent book. It's an overview of the whole Boer War. And it's really good because the author writes well and brings the stories and everything going on to life. And it's both, it has the reasons for the Boer War, why it came about. It's quite tactical as well, so it's really interesting, and maybe I'll do a video review on that when I finish reading it. Alright, the second one is The Wild West: History, Myth and the Making of America by Frederick Nolan. Now I haven't read this one yet, and my first interest in history was the American Wild West, all the Indians and cowboys. That's what got me into history. But I mean, I bought this book specifically because it was written by Frederick Nolan. Apparently he's quite well known in the history Wild West writing department, and actually just lives up the road from me, so I'm going to give that a read and see what I think about it. Next book I'll do is The West. As you can see, this whole shelf is about America really, and this is the very first book I read properly, sort of from cover to cover. I read this when I was probably about 14, 15, when I was still at high school. It's the Mammoth Book of the West, The Making of America, and it's written by John E. Lewis, and it just goes through everything really to do with the West: cowboys, Americans, the Indians, all the early settlers, the trains, the gold miners, everyone who was kind of forging their way westwards. And it's just a pretty decent book, and I really enjoyed this, and this is what led me into the rest of history. Secondly, we've got another Mammoth book. Publishers at the time were obviously obsessed with big hairy elephants with tusks, so we've got the Mammoth Book of Native Americans, and this is quite a comprehensive guide to everything to do with the Native Indians, Native Americans, how they suffered, how they had to go through the, well, let's face it, the slaughter and the genocide of an Indian nation, and how unfortunately many of them were wiped out. Many of them died due to the hands of the white Americans. And I've got these two are similar books to the ones previously as well. We've got Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee. I think it's probably one of my 3 favourite books, because I just sympathise with, or you can empathise with, the Indians and what they had to go with and what they had to deal with, and it's just, in many ways, it's a heartbreaking book. It's very sad in the way that they were treated. And then we've also got another Dee Brown book on the American West. And I particularly like Dee Brown, and I've read probably 6 or 7 of his books, and they're really good. I really do like the Dee Brown books. And then the last 2 in this particular section on the shelf, many of you might recognise Stephen E. Ambrose, Crazy Horse and Custer. 2 of the leading figures, one on one side, one on the other. 2 of the leading figures of American history, and it's a fantastic book. The author goes into great detail, and it's really packed, quite informative, quite revealing, and certainly an excellent book. And then finally in this section, we've got probably the Bible of the American Civil War, is The Battle Cry of Freedom by James M. McPherson. And probably if you want to get into the US Civil War, if you want to know the basics, and not just the basics, it's pretty much covered in this. I think I've probably bought 2 or 3 copies of these, or copies of this book, and it just, everything you want to know about the US Civil War is in this book, and it's great. In fact, I bought 2 or 3 books because I like to keep, if I like the book, I like to try and keep a nice, neat copy, so where you haven't got all the spine broken from where you've been reading it. And then, let me just move these back. The next lot of books we had on that shelf are the books I kind of got my boys to read when they were young, because I wanted to train them up in history, because obviously history is the best subject to study. But it's the Horrible History series, and I've got, how many have got in this pile? It's about 12 here. All these different subjects. They're all written by the one author. So we have the Blitz Brits, Groovy Greeks, then you've got the Cutthroat Celts, Measly Middle Ages, and they're basically lots of books that take little looks at different sections of history and the people that were in history at the time, and looks at all the rude bits and the gross bits, and they're specifically books written for children and like teenagers. And you'll find many people will say, they got into history through the Horrible History books, because it's full of all, there's lots of toilet humour and toilet history, all the stabbings and diseases and all the gross bits of history, really. And Terry Deary, who's the author, has written, I'd say, at least 30 to 40 different books And there's you might have seen them if you. There's a BBC series called The Horrible Histories. If you watch that, the programs are great, and they're all the information and episodes are based on these books, and I think it's one of the most popular series on the BBC, so it's well worth a watch. And even my boys are like 15, 16 now, and we still enjoy sitting and watching the Horrible History series on the television. And if you want to get your kids into horrible histories or history, then definitely give them a couple of those books and they'll really enjoy it. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed that. That's my first bookshelf video. Please feel free to subscribe to the channel, and I shall see you next time. Thank you very much.